Hello, Bournemouth fans. We hope you are having a fantastic start to the week off the back of that brilliant result at home against Liverpool. And we feel it's a good time to have a discussion at the point where we're at in the season. We fell back into the relegation zone at the last minute on Sunday, but we're in a really good place to attack the last 12. Gonna look at where we're up to in the league and getting past that really difficult patch of games and going into the last block of 12 where there's definitely winnable games. I've got Aaron with me. I suppose the first place to start, Aaron, is to ask if you enjoyed Saturday, but we will talk about it more in depth later on. And we're in the conversation, which is what we would have asked right at the start of the season.
Yeah, massively enjoyed Saturday. I mean, that's kind of result's been a long time coming. We need one in every one of our Premier League seasons. We've had at least one of those, if not two, and sometimes even three. But we hadn't had one this season yet, and that was it. Hopefully there'll be more to come. But that was certainly one which could be a season-defining game. In a game that a lot of people said was a free hit, but as I've said to you before, free hits can be season-defining because that's what's kept us up in the past.
I wonder when we look back at the end of the season, how many times we've all said season defining, hopefully with survival. If you're new around here and you're one of our new subscribers, thank you very much. And our current subscribers, you might have been with us since the start. Thank you for supporting us. We're on our journey to 1,500. So please subscribe. Also hit the like button. We try and like to get to at least 50 likes to help with the video with inside YouTube. So hit that like button. If this video is interactive, use the interactive chat and communicate with other fans and tell us how you feeling. And of course, at the end of this video, use the comments to let us know what you think about our thoughts and other thoughts you might have between now and the end of the season. First thing for us to do, Aaron, is to maybe look at that league table. And I just mentioned that we fell just back into it, but at one point in the weekend, we were above it because we were the first game in the Premier League. We beat Liverpool 1-0. Southampton back on bottom after getting a draw at Old Trafford. Leeds are in the bottom three. Bournemouth 18th. West Ham scraping a draw against Villa 17th. Leicester 16th. Everton 15th. Nottingham Forest 14th, losing again at Spurs. Wolves losing late at Newcastle 13th. And Crystal Palace 12th. They're struggling to win games. I think it goes that high up, Aaron.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, there's 5 points separating, that bottom, where anyone from Palace down, and we're only 3 points behind 12th. So, yeah, I think the more teams in the mix, the better. We don't want teams pulling away, and I think results have construed and to put us in this position whereby, before those last 3 games, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, I think we all knew we were in the relegation zone, and I think we all knew we'd probably still be in the relegation zone. But the question is how far behind would we be? I think we'd all have settled for not being too far adrift, and we aren't. That win has given us the opportunity. We are in it, but we're basically level on points. We obviously know our goal difference is poor, although I think Forest is actually on a par with us now. We're very close to it. We're 3 points off 12th, and we are very much in it, having got those 3 fixtures out of the way. Teams, as you say, are struggling. The likes of Palace haven't actually won since they played us on New Year's Eve. And other teams around us, are struggling. Everton got a result, but then they lost the game before. They'd actually played a game more. Obviously, Wolves lost. Leeds didn't win at home. West Ham didn't win at home. So I think there's a lot of teams who are certainly in the mix, and we just need to finish above 3 of them.
I was on TalkSport on Friday night. It was late Friday night, so I wasn't going to keep anyone up if you follow our socials or anything like that. But they did ask me who potentially I thought would go down. And I said Southampton. I said Leeds right at the start of the season before a ball was kicked. And I think they're in real trouble. And I said, don't forget about Forest because they're going to get pulled back into this. And they lost again at the Tottenham Stadium. We're going to discuss and look at the other fixtures we've got coming up within this video. And I said a few weeks ago, Aaron, and I think you're on the same theme. I think that 35 points needs to be the minimum target. We're currently on 24. So when we look at those batch of games coming up, we need to get another 11. Does 35 seem about right? We know that might not be enough. 5 out of the last 7 seasons in the Premier League, it has been. 35's got to be the minimum target for sure, though.
Yeah, I think minimum. There's a chance it could be less, but if you think of those clutch of teams on 27, are they really only going to get 8 more points between now and the end of the season? So I think it will be low. I personally think that's a bare minimum. I think we're probably needing to get 36, 37 should be enough. And, that win on Saturday, those 3 points suddenly makes that a bit more achievable and, a bit more realistic, certainly looking at the league table anyway. But yeah, look, you look at our last 12 fixtures, whatever they are, and the amount of points we've got, we need to do better than that. But obviously our last few fixtures have actually given us the bulk of those points. So that's what we've got to try and look to continue.
Absolutely. And let's just have a look then, since we've come back to football from the World Cup, since Gary O'Neill got this job permanently as head coach. 11 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 7 defeats, 8 points, 7 goals scored, 19 conceded. I think that is correct. And when we look at the appointment, Aaron, and I really, really want to discuss this now because I think it is going on social media and we want to pick up what other fans are saying, whether you're hearing it, whether you're seeing it in posts. With an appointment like Gary O'Neill, I think it's going to split a fan base. Now, you're either Gary O'Neill not really in, out's probably the wrong word, but you weren't for the appointment. I mean, I think we both were not really keen on the appointment, but there are other people within our team, within Cherries Red Army, who were comfortable with the appointment and backed it. And I think you get that split opinion. With that, Aaron, I think you get when the games unravel and when the season unravels and when it doesn't go well because you make basic errors or your nervousness around decision making because of your lack of experience, it'll play into hands like ourselves, because this is why we're saying that we wanted someone a little bit stronger with a track record. And then when he gets a result, Gary O'Neill gets a result against Liverpool and takes a scalp, then it plays into the hands of the fans that backed him, heart on their sleeve, want to give someone a chance, underdog story potentially. We all want the same thing here. We all want to stay up. We all want to achieve the same objective. But it's all about balancing those, not having digs at each other. But it's like, you got to understand both sides, I suppose.
Look, it's neither one or the other. As you said, first and foremost, we're all Bournemouth fans. We're all diehard Bournemouth fans. We want Bournemouth to stay up and the best interest of the club at heart. For those of us who were not particularly behind Gary O'Neill's permanent appointment, that's nothing against him personally. He's a great chap. His knowledge of football is certainly without question, and the staff with him are Bournemouth legends, aren't they? So that they wear their hearts on their sleeves, and their passion is there for all to see. I think for those of us who didn't back it, I think it was more a case of experience. I mean, look, the bare facts were he's never managed at any level before, let alone the Premier League at any level, and there's going to be question marks about that. Not with his will to win, his work rate, his what he puts into it, which is without question. It's just those little bits of experience, his game management, learning on the job. Did we really want someone learning on the job? And I think those early results, post Scott Parker, he did a great job in the interim. But if we're looking post the World Cup, post his permanent tenure, obviously we had a run of 5-6 straight defeats. Included in that were dire games at home to Crystal Palace, who I said obviously haven't won since. That Burnley game, obviously, where we got taught a lesson essentially, and then I think a lot of people who were pro Gary were coming, sort of beginning to think maybe he isn't the right man, and maybe this is catching up with him. This isn't the right time. Obviously, we've spent heavily in the transfer window. We brought in a higher caliber of players, although obviously on Saturday half of them weren't even available. And we need to keep them fit. And he has suffered with injuries as well. Key players like Marcus Tavernier, to name just one. Don was out for a couple of games, etc. He is clearly learning on the job, and I think we've seen signs of. I mean, it's obvious to say signs of improvement, but it's more just a case of doing the simple things right, maybe learning from his mistakes, which is to be applauded. And I think we're all also under the realization now that the time to relieve him of his duties has clearly passed, and we have improved over the last few games, and he's clearly here to the end of the season at least. And I mean, speaking for myself personally now, once that's in my head, fully supporting him now and fully behind him. Would I want him? This is obviously a discussion for another day. Even if he keeps us up, do I think he's the right man for the job? No, I don't. And again, that's nothing personal. But right now, all I'm concentrating on is staying up this season and fully backing him for now. And as you say, the last couple of games, we've obviously won at Wolves, we've beaten Liverpool. Arsenal, we've obviously spoken about at length. There are signs that certain things are beginning to improve and certain lessons have been learned, which is only natural when you've been in the job obviously a bit longer.
Yeah, and we want to get up to that Liverpool game and just break down how maybe the pennies dropped, which is what I said in our matchday vlog. Actually, are we just turning things around? Have we got an approach now that's really going to help us and give us a chance in these final games? And as we go back a few games there, and we know that it was a tough start. Chelsea, Manchester United, Brentford. You talked about Palace. We dropped points from winning positions against Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. Probably more frustrated with the Forest one over the Newcastle one because we know that Newcastle are doing well under Eddie Howe. And then we got that result at Wolves. Okay, we only had one shot on target, but we got an away win, kept a clean sheet. And that was sort of a foundation, right? Take the positives from that. Then you go to Man City, right, Aaron, and we set up, we see the three centre backs come in. And for me, I just never like it. I think it's one of those games, call it a free hit, call it a game you're not expected to win, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't play to our strengths. We've seen it before under Eddie Howe in our previous stint. We got a few hammer-ins, but we also did pick up big wins against big teams, beating Manchester United, Chelsea. And in some of those games there, and we kept a clean sheet. So we can do it. When you look at the setup that we had for Manchester City, I didn't think it was going to end well. Said that before the game. We had errors in that first half. I know Gary was speaking about the positives in the turnover, but we had errors. We had players deeper than we wanted them, like Phil Billing. We were 3-0 down, I think, at half time. So you can look at the positives, but I think we set ourselves up to fail in that game. And I know it's Manchester City. We would probably lose anyway, but let's try and lose in a way where we get a foot in the fixture. At Arsenal, we started very, very quickly, got out the traps. I haven't seen a start like that for a long, long time. Got the early goal, defended well for the first half, got the second goal. And look, we're on cloud nine inside the Emirates. Me and you were there. We thought we were going to pull off one of the biggest results of the season. Fell apart, 3 goals that Jon spoke about in one of his videos that could have been avoidable, could have been avoided. And losing it late, maybe it's going to be Arsenal's season. And I was thinking maybe that's going to define our season as well. What happens against Liverpool then? We come up to Liverpool, and I think the lineup came out, Aaron, and I felt so much more optimism seeing the lineup. I know we had players missing, but I felt like it had been simplified, and I felt like it played to our strengths, and we could really give Liverpool a go. We're always going to concede chances. These are good football teams. They'll always create good chances, but can we also give ourselves a chance of getting a win? Because as you said, we hadn't beaten a top so-called 6 side. We hadn't even beaten a team in the top half all season. And we gave ourselves a really good chance on Saturday before we go into the real dynamics of that result.
Yeah, look, those 3 games, I think before those 3 games, I think we'd all snapped your hand off for 1 or 2 points. We ended up getting 3. So from that point of view, it was a great return. And they were a kind of progression, really, if you like. We kind of gave Manchester City, for reasons I can understand, a huge amount of respect. We went to 5 at the back. I've said time and time again, games are won and lost in midfield, especially in the Premier League when nearly every team plays 3 midfielders. To play 2 midfielders against 3 world-class midfielders is asking for trouble. And the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal, for that matter, are too good to defend against because they've got world-class players who will find a pass, find a finish, moment of brilliance. Obviously, a couple of those goals we gave them on the plate, but they will find a way. So our best chance is to try and impose ourselves and give them a problem. We didn't do that against Manchester City until obviously we were 3-0 down, by which time the game was late. The second half was an improvement, but as you say, the game was gone. We set up the same at Arsenal, a bit more understandable on the basis we were away from home against clearly the best team in the league. Look how they dispatched Fulham yesterday. And that early goal made all the difference because then we had something to cling on to. So although we ended up getting no points, there was a big progression from Manchester City because obviously we scored a couple before they did. And, you know, as you say, some of the goals were avoidable, but we defended with our hearts and our sleeves. Yes, could we have done better for all 3 goals? Yes, I think any goal that's scored in any level of football, pretty much, you can do better in. But obviously then we came away distraught, but thinking, you know, wow, we give them a game. And as I said, look what they did to Fulham, look what they've done games before that. And then obviously the third game is like, you know, it's like the 3 piggies really. And then we came to the brick house where we came up trumps, and we went back to that 4. We went back to that 3 in midfield where we dominated Liverpool's midfield. You know, that's where we won the game. Having Jeff back helped, but we had, you know, Rothwell, Lerma, Billing as well, all in that central area. which makes a huge difference. And yeah, Bournemouth teams historically, I think, can go back well past Eddie's years, much, much further. If you count the number of fingers, the number of games you've won with the back five, and 4 is in our DNA, and that worked again. Yes, Liverpool had a few chances. They're always going to. Any team in the Premier League is, but we gave them chances. Look, we scored 1. We could have scored 2 or 3 more. Obviously, Dango had that chance. Dom had a couple of half chances. On the break we had some more. So we did, give them a problem the whole game, and that didn't. What that did was push them back. And yes, they had their moments, obviously, but we have seen that progression. I understand why Gary O'Neill did it, because the 5 at the back, because Eddie often did it in the Premier League. It never worked for him, but he did it. And there's obviously a mindset that, the more defenders you have, the more likely you are to not concede. But we know that doesn't work. And as I said, packing out that midfield is the most important. So, we progressed and we ended up getting 3 points. We would have bit your hand off for a point at Emirates, probably yesterday. So, as upset as we were at Arsenal, we ended up getting more points than we probably would have wanted. And I think any of us would have said before the game, that's a great return. So, and that's what's really set us up. And now, no more Man City, no more Arsenal, no more Liverpool, and we move on.
There was enough reasons going into that Liverpool game to want to do well. We were in the relegation zone. We're fighting to stay up. We wanted to put what happened at the Emirates right. We wanted to put that 9-0 earlier on in the season right. And the frustrations I've had with Gary O'Neill is him trying to overthink it. He's openly come out in media previews and said that he really focuses on the opposition. I never think that's a good plan. By doing that, you're then going to set up us in a way where you're going to ask our players to do something that's not natural to them. You're then going to detriment our attack and our turnovers and our progression up the pitch. And all I've ever been calling out for, especially in these types of games, is just to simplify it. Put players in positions they're comfortable in playing. We'll have a look at how he's done that on Saturday and the rewards we got from it. That we put more attacking players on there. Liverpool were there to be had, Aaron. Their troubles have come on the road all season. They had 6 losses before the 7th on Saturday. They're inconsistent. They're up and down. It's a 7th year, I think, with Jurgen Klopp. And if you look at Dortmund, they're actually saying the same thing. He was brilliant for 6 years, and then it all went a bit pear-shaped in the 7th. I don't know if it's just a coincidence. For the first time, I saw Gary O'Neill simplify and keep it basic. And we delivered on the pitch because the players were given that freedom higher up to express. The players that were put in defensive positions were comfortable. Lloyd Kelly, I know, wants to be a centre back, but we all know he's done a very good job at left back. And everything worked, and everything that they planned worked. And we even got a bit of luck with Mo Salah missing the penalty. And that, for me, has to be the platform and the foundation from here on in. If it doesn't end up being enough, Aaron, in May, at the end of May, that's fine. We go down, we start again. But we need to go down if we're relegated on our terms, knowing that we gave it everything and we played to our strengths.
Yeah, 100%. Look, for the record, if Jurgen Klopp is sort of coming to the end of his time at Liverpool, I will gladly take him at Bournemouth. I think even Gary O'Neill's biggest lovers would say, we'll take Jurgen Klopp. So just if his time's up, we'll take him. Look, Liverpool were there to be got at 100%. Look, it's Liverpool. They're always going to be a huge club. They thrashed us 9-0. They beat United 7-0 the week before. But you're right, they have had vulnerabilities this season. They lost 3-0 at Wolves. They lost at Nottingham Forest. So, yes, it was a big scalp. But, these other teams around us are getting those results. So we kind of had to do that. I think Everton drew with them as well. So we know they were there to be got at. But you're right, it's a platform for the rest of the season. I would imagine now that as I said, we've got those 3 out of the way. The only other game away to the top teams is Spurs away. I can't see him playing a back 5 anymore. And I think, regardless of that, so I think this is the platform now, the 4-5-1 or the 4-3-3 or the 4-4-1-1, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the platform going forward. And we obviously know now we've got the likes of Tavernier, Traore to come back in if they can get back in, which I'm sure they will, but Brooksy as well. So, we've got so much attacking talent, ball carrying midfielders. So we don't want to leave a midfielder out for that. And so, yeah, that has to be the platform going forward. That has to be how we attack it for the rest of the season. We've shown we've got the players on the counter attack. We've got the players who can take the game. and that's what we've got to do. And we've got that calibre of player now to really attack these last 12 games of the season.
Aaron, from that big 1-0 result, then I do want to talk about some really influential players. I thought everyone on the pitch and even the players that came on were fantastic on Saturday, but we need to speak about a few. Lloyd Kelly, you predicted this before the lineups came out in the 1910. You said to me, I think Lloyd Kelly will play at left back. First mention, because I know that early doors, he played a ball back from Neto after Liverpool cleared a corner and there was a few jeers. And I was like, unnecessary, completely unnecessary. Maybe it's just a few fans that just, for whatever reason, are not going to get on with Lloyd Kelly. I've always backed Lloyd Kelly. I understand the frustrations around his speed of passing, some of his defending. I get all of that, but I really always have had his back, I think. And his best performances probably have come at left back when we look at the last couple of years. I know Scott Parker really pushed him playing at the centre back, and that's what he wanted. But when you look at the centre backs we've now got in this team, Senesi, Stevens, Mepham, and Sabani to come in, if Lloyd Kelly remains a Bournemouth player, I think it's left back. We'll come on to another conversation in a moment about Jordan Zamora. But Lloyd Kelly, arguably man of the match on Saturday.
Yeah, I did call it. I think I didn't know, obviously, about the Jay-Z situation before the game. I just knew that Lloyd Kelly was fit. And obviously, Matthias Wiener was coming back from an injury as well. But I knew Lloyd Kelly was fit. And I just thought that he's not going to get back in at centre-back, as you say. Certainly not now, not at the moment. And with Salah there for Liverpool, we know Lloyd Kelly, one of his best attributes is his pace. And obviously he's better in the air than Jay-Z as well. I just had a feeling he was going to play left back because I think he's going to get back into this team because he is one of our best defenders. We know he doesn't give you the thrust going forward of Jay-Z, but he's a better defender. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He did obviously perform very well at centre-back in the Championship. I think, for sure that's never in doubt. At Premier League level, I still think there's a centre-back in there for sure. But I just think for now, I think you're right. I think whether he plays there for the rest of the season, I don't know, because obviously you've got Vina, you've got Jay-Z, who I imagine will come back in if things get sorted on that front. So it's a difficult one. Great options to have. But yeah, he was outstanding. We know defensively he's good. He's got that pace. He reads the game very well. A couple of times he went back, but I don't think he didn't put us in any trouble or anything like that. And there wasn't always the outlet ball to go forward. So yeah, unnecessary groaning, but I thought he was outstanding. And I imagine now he'll probably keep that place for the next few games at least.
Something for Vina to think about, coming in as a left back from Roma. But Jay-Z, let's have a conversation about Jordan Zamora. Now, we know that Jadon Anthony signed a new contract a few weeks ago. I think they live together. They do a few podcast contributions together. And when Jadon Anthony signed, I was just like, Jay-Z will be tomorrow. Jay-Z will be 2 days' time, 3 days' time, the weekend. And it's sort of gone on. And he was dropped. And we've heard from correspondents, good journalists that have said that it was a club decision. There's been no forward sort of communication. A contract's on the table. Don't know what that looks like. We don't have that information. We all want Jordan Zamora to stay here. I think Jordan Zamora has a future at this club. If you're telling me, does Jordan Zamora go to another Premier League team? Maybe. Does he play every week? Not sure. Not sure at this stage. He's progressing very, very well. We had questions about whether he could step up to Premier League so soon. He's done it at times. We know that there's still learning to be done defensively at times. We like him going forward. What happens now? What happens now? Because we've got to think about survival. We've had situations before, Josh King trying to leave, not leave. We don't need these unnecessary things going on outside. I think we can cope with it, to be honest with you. We've got the squad. I think 95% of the fan base want Jay-Z to sign. And Jay-Z always comes across saying they know how I feel about the club. Yeah. It's a really delicate situation. That do we need to nail it now, or is it like we're going to focus on staying up? If you want to come to the table, come to the table. If not, we're focusing on staying up.
I think we'd like to sort it now. I don't think we want to wait to the end of the season. Agents, mate. Agents. I have no doubt whatsoever that Jay-Z wants to stay at this club. Whether or not his best mate signed or not, I think that obviously will play a part as well. I think I was with you. I thought as soon as Jadon signed, Jay-Z wouldn't be far behind. You know, they're thick as thieves. They're best mates. They live together. They progress together. You know, their journey is the same. So, I mean, it was very strange. It was very strange that it was a club decision to drop him. As you say, from what the respected journalists have said, an offer, a very generous offer has been put on the table. And I think what's irked the club is that it's not that it hasn't been accepted, that it wasn't even responded to. Radio silence, whether that was an instruction from Jay-Z's agent. I can only imagine it is, because this is who players listen to. Speculation that it's not as big as Jadon Anthony's contract, which offer, which might, you know, maybe true or not, would make sense. Obviously, as I said to you, that their relationship together, attackers generally have more lucrative offers than defenders. Maybe that played a part. I agree with you. I don't think Jay-Z, much as I love him, would be sought after by another Premier League team. I just don't think he would be at this moment in time. And, you know, we're all saying we want him to stay, and I 100% want him to stay. But then I'm thinking, if Kelly's situation is going to be more of a left back, because we've got the likes of Zabani and Senesi now with Meps as well. Stevens obviously is in the picture as well, and we just brought Vigna in, who's, I know we have. Well, actually, he can be a roving midfielder from his run on Saturday. But
I thought that was going to be the greatest goal of the season.
Yeah. Take it to the corner flag. So we shout. Yeah, look, he's clearly a player of huge pedigree, as I've mentioned Vigna before. You know, he's played for Marino, he's played for Uruguay, he's played Champions League football. Clearly, you know, no disrespect, but a level above Jay-Z, right? So where does Jay-Z fit in if he's signed? Has he not had and no player can have confirmations they're going to be in the starting lineup every week, but has he not had those that said to him? I don't know. Obviously, look, I'm pretty sure it'll be resolved very soon. What that means for Jay-Z getting straight back in the team is a different issue, because everyone has to earn their place. But you know, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because he's Bournemouth through and through, unlike the likes of Josh King, who brilliant servant, loved Josh King, but again, you know, you could see he didn't want to be there anymore. Jay-Z's a different character, so hopefully it will get settled. But look, it's one of those things. You just have to see what happens.
And I don't think the ball is fully in Jay-Z's court now, unlike pre-January, because of the players that we've now got that can play that position. And Vigna, we might sign permanently at the end of the season. So Jay-Z, we want you to sign. We hope we sort it out. We'll get that one. We'll keep up to date with that one. A few other players I just want to rattle off before we get into some more detail about some more influential players that helped us get that 1-0 win against Liverpool. Great to see Joe Rothwell have a really good performance on Saturday again, alongside Jeff Lerma coming back in. We know that Lerma might be off at the end of the season. We'll all give him a big hug and send him on his way. But Joe Rothwell complements him well. Lerma wins it back. Rothwell plays between the lines. Great to see them two playing really well for me, Aaron. It's another positive to take into these final batch of games.
Yeah, Rothwell was superb. This is the player I thought and I knew we were getting when he originally signed. You know, he's a different player to Jeff, different player to Lewis. You know, he's got kind of everything. He can sit deep. He can pick up the ball. He can drive with the ball at pace. He sees a great pass. He played a brilliant first-time ball over the top for Dango towards the end of the game on Saturday. His energy is infectious. He just, you know, he's not afraid to put himself about as well. So he's a real, yeah. I mean, look, he's not one of the superstars we've recently signed, but it's a great signing, astute signing. We're just beginning to see the best of him now, and his partnership with Jeff, you know, is blossoming. Yeah,
someone alongside them, or just in front, or played just behind Dom Solanke, is Philip Billing, top goal scorer for Bournemouth now. Scored at the Emirates, scored again on Saturday. Maybe he's putting himself in for the player of the season at this rate, because Chris Mepham was walking away with it early on. Now Philip Billing's really throwing his name into the hat. And a lot of fans bought into Billing in the Championship. You could see a different player turning up. We know that Billing has some days where he's not there, but I think he's having more good days than he is bad days. So he definitely is having way more good days than he is bad days. And when I was speaking about Manchester City and the error he made for the Phil Foden goal, I don't want Billing there and playing him higher up where he can have that freedom. All those goals he scored in the Championship where he's arriving late and he's getting on the end of stuff. exactly what happened on Saturday. And when you're
Mm.
loading the box, Aaron, and defenders have got to occupy Jaden Anthony coming in far post, Dom Solanke in the box, Utara's causing havoc, Billing comes in unnoticed and sticks it away. How many times did he do that in the Championship?
Yeah, isn't it funny how it was a few weeks ago and he looked like it was apparently a load of rubbish that he didn't want to sign a contract and leave, and people were like, he is replaceable. It's it's not the end of the world. He's really pushing for player of the season at the moment. He's playing probably his best football that I've ever seen him play in a Bournemouth shirt for sure. Obviously in the Premier League clearly as well, which is obviously a level above the Championship. Yes, we want to see him in those positions, but how good was he at Arsenal in that deeper position as well? He was outstanding, one of his best ever games for the club. I'd go as far as to say, and I might miss someone out, but I honestly think that if we were to go down, I think he's the one, for me, really the one player, really, that I think other Premier League clubs would go in for. Lerma probably to some degree as well, but I'm kind of assuming he's going anyway, as you mentioned. So, we talk about the likes of Dom and other players, but at Premier League level, Phil Billing is doing it. He's got the numbers, he's performing week in, week out, and he's the one player I think I would worry about were we to go down to lose, for sure. But yeah, outstanding. He's as you say, he's showed great performances last season. He's showed it in flashes in every season. He's had good games, but this is the consistency level now, and he's just he's performing at such a high level, and he's going to be massive for the rest of the season.
A little bit of a positive, the guy that played ahead of him up top, Dom Solanke, but I am seeing some little frustrations coming through social media with the fans regarding Dom Solanke. We go way back, you might have heard me saying years ago in the Premier League that Dom Solanke is not a natural striker, he'll never bang 20 goals. First season in Championship, he got 15. Then I think he got 29 or 30 in the Championship last season and smashed us to promotion alongside Travers keeping clean sheets. And we're almost gone full circle now, Aaron, where people are like, Dom Solanke's not a striker. He won't score you 10 goals. Actually, I don't even think Callum Wilson ever got to 10 goals for Bournemouth. I think he got 9 in one season. He's more than that. He is way more than that. He gives us a press. He gives us energy. He defends from the front. We saw that on Saturday. But I do agree, and I have said that if we're going to stay up, we can't rely on Billing getting us loads of goals. We've got to add value elsewhere. Kiefer Moore might have more of a say in this season from here on in if he gets on the pitch. We know that we've got Dango Utara, who we'll talk about in a moment. Dom Solanke, though, he needs to start scoring goals. He's a striker. He is more than that. But some fans I'm seeing are getting frustrated that he's not scoring any goals.
Yeah, before the season started, I think, we had this discussion about Mitrovic and Solanke with ourselves, with Fulham fans. And I hold my hands up. I was one who said Dom will 100% score more goals than Mitrovic next season because he's a better player, all-round player. And Mitrovic has gone and shoved that right down my throat because he's shown, how good he can be at this level. And he scored a shed load of goals for Fulham. I think that there's a big, uncomfortable discussion to be had potentially at the end of the season if we stay up. If we go down, then Dom Solanke will clearly score 30-odd goals again next season and get us promoted. And I don't think he'll go. I don't think he'll be massively sought after. There'll be interest, but I don't think he'll go. If we stay up, as I said, I think it's going to be a big, uncomfortable discussion to have. Now, is that because Dom Solanke is not a good player? Absolutely not. Dom Solanke is without doubt one of our best players. Skill-wise, strength-wise, making things happen, dropping deep. His work rate is probably better than any other player. The uncomfortable discussion is that if we stay up in the Premier League club next year, do we need to buy a striker? Because we will have the funds to do so. We know that. We now have the funds to do so. And, Kiefer Moore has helped get us promoted. He scored some valuable goals in the Premier League. He hasn't had a look in the last few games. And some of those games I'd like to have seen him come on, actually, when we were losing. But long term, he's not the future. I still think he's got a part to play this season and maybe beyond, but not the future. So he's the only other striker. Jamal Lowe, we know if he comes back, is not not going to make it in the Premier League. Semenyo as well, a bit raw. But I would say if we stay up with the funds we now have with Foley, we will need to buy a top. When I say a top striker, you need multi-millions to buy a top striker, but a goal scorer. What then happens to Dom in our team is another issue when you got the likes of Traore and Tavernier and Brooks hopefully firing again and et cetera, billing. So obviously Dom needs to be in his team, but is he going to have to play second fiddle like he did with under Eddie with Josh King and Callum Wilson? He was a brilliant player then. He still had ability. He came on and scored a hat trick or whatever it was, and he's etc. But did Eddie see something that we didn't see? Clearly, he's progressed since then. He's matured. He's a better player. But I think that's a discussion to have. And I think that's what I'm trying to get across. Is not that I haven't got frustrations with Dom. Other people might, but I would never say he should be in the team. Of course, he should be in the team for one of the first teams on the team sheet. But I think there's a discussion to be had in the summer. Should we stay up about the future and about a goal scorer?
Yeah, and I think he will get goals from here on in. He's probably not going to get a bundle, but he'll add value if we can pick up some wins, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I think you are right. The only counter argument to that might be that Mitrovic has had a few goes at this. Dom Solanke had a little go at the end of that COVID season. He needed the championship first season to get those 15. Then he progressed to 29, 30, if it's 30, 29, can't remember. And then obviously this season, and then maybe he kicks on again next season. But it's a fair comment, an argument that some are having, but I think overall the fans really love Dom Solanke. A good way to finish this Liverpool summary is speaking about one of our new signings from Lorient, and that is Dango Utara, or Dongo Utara. I know I probably say it wrong, but 3 assists. Before he got his assist, he probably should have scored, Aaron. As that was happening, and I was vlogging it, in my head, I was going, you're taking the ball to your right, your weaker foot. And as he got closer to Alisson, he then realised he had to probably take it round him because he was on his weaker side. A more experienced Utara, he's very raw. And as he progresses, I think he takes that to his left and actually shoots like a Salah would. He had so much grass in front of him. He had too much time. But he didn't let it bother him. He then got that assist for Philip Billing, 3 assists. And he's a big player for us. Direct, pace, everything we were talking about before the January transfer window, everything we were lacking, we've added with Utara.
Yeah, it seems to me that's his one, at the moment, his one weak point is his finishing ability. No doubt is he's given us everything we wanted. He's given us that directness, that pace over the top. How many times did that ball go over the top on Saturday? And in the previous games as well. He's shown we can now knock that ball over the top, into the channel. And he delivers, as you said, he gets assist after assist after assist at home. He got one obviously at the Emirates as well. And he's a handful. He skinned Van Dijk alive, gave Robertson a torrid time. That chance he had at Arsenal was a brilliant save from Ramsdale. Could have dinked it, a bit more clinical. But again, Saturday's was his clearest chance yet, for sure. Look, when you take it around the keeper, someone like Alisson's always going to make himself big and the angle's going to be tight. You got to try and shoot a bit earlier. Just as you say, composure, bend it round, whatever you like. But a one-on-one, any player really, you got to fancy your chances. So that's all he really needs to add to his game. But if he continues to get assists for us, which means we're scoring goals, then obviously we'll take that, because that's probably his primary role at the moment, is to get those assists.
I said that to you at the Emirates. Dink it. He just needed to dink it. But he's young. He's young. Yeah. He'll learn from things like that.
Yeah,
Steve Fletcher would have said to him, dink it, Dango. And we got some players to come back. Sabani to potentially come in. Senesi and Stevens were absolutely awesome on Saturday, by the way. But Sabani to come in. Tavernier, we know, is a massive player for us. Brilliant dribbler. Creation was getting better before he got injured. Traore had a bright start. So we just need to get these players back. And these games that we're going to look at in a moment are, some of them, quite a few of them, winnable if we can get more of these players back.
Yeah, look, we haven't spoken about Brooks yet, but if he can get anywhere near like he can do, that might be a stretch this season. But, Brooks, Tavernier, we know what an influence he can have. Traore, as you said. Getting him back into that team who performed so well against Liverpool is going to be difficult. But what options to have? And then you're going to leave players off the bench who probably played a part against Liverpool. So Sabani as well, and what pedigree he's got. So the manager will say good options to have, and it will be. We need everyone firing and fit. And Lewis Cook's back as well, which is great. So those last 12 games, if we can get everyone fit, then absolutely we can really hit those ground running, as you say, in those winnable games, for sure.
Shot coming here. Credit to Gary O'Neill, actually, because great point about David Brooks. I said to you, I'm sure it was you I said it to, that having him in the team sheet gave us a lift, probably gave the squad a lift. Just 529 days, I think David Brooks said, was the last time he was in a match day squad. I did say to you, I do struggle to see how he gets on the pitch today, because it was going to be fine margins. And the only time I really saw him coming on the pitch is if we were like completely out of the game and 3 or 4-0 down. Because if the game was tight, you're just not going to bring him on at that stage. We are getting closer, though, to seeing David Brooks and his magic feet on Dean Court, on another pitch elsewhere, and it'll be a beautiful sight.
Yeah, I mean, year and a half. I mean, what a long time. And it's, yeah, to get to this moment. I saw a tweet from David himself yesterday or this morning. You know, what an incredible journey he's been on, a tough journey. And just to get into that match day squad, give everybody a lift, as you say. And I think, you know, whether he was really ever going to come on. I mean, Gary Neal said in his post-match interview, he's still got a bit of work to do. So he probably never was really going to bring him on. But you said he gave everyone a lift. I think it was the right time to include him and involve him again. I'd like to think he can play a part in the last 12 games, certainly maybe the last 6 or 7 or 8, for sure. And, you know, even if he's not obviously fit enough to last a 90, if he can come off the bench and you know, bit of magic, find that pass, you know, you don't lose your footballing ability. And boy, did he have it.
Respectable Liverpool fans, thank you for checking out the matchday vlog. Said we deserved the game. We did deserve the game. We did need Mo Salah to miss a penalty. We just want to finish off with this little image. Aaron, you know when you feel like you haven't got an invite to like an event, or maybe you're the last one to be picked when you're choosing teams. When you look at penalties conceded, penalty goals given, top of the league, conceded the most penalties all season, and we are now the only team in the Premier League not to have a penalty. Shock.
Yeah, little old Bournemouth, eh? I mean, if ever something tells 1,000, a picture tells 1,000 words, and that's kind of it, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, well, interesting. Man City are in there. I was going to say, other than that, you know, the smaller clubs are in there. Obviously, the 3 promoted clubs, and yeah, it is what it is. You know, we know we've been on the harsh end of some VAR decisions, both for and against us, as in you know, giving away penalties and not getting penalties. So yeah, I would like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Don't read into it. There's nothing into it, Aaron. Absolutely nothing at all. So yes. So we've got to that point, full time at Dean Court, beat Liverpool, and more fresh optimism is going through the Cherries veins. And now we go into those next batch of games. And the easiest way to probably break this down, Aaron, is to look at the next 12 left. And then we'll have a quick look at the last 8. We know we've got Aston Villa next weekend before an international break. But let's have a look. So we're looking to get a minimum of 35 points. We're currently on 24, so we need 11 to get. Image on the screen. Next 4 games: Aston Villa away, Fulham at home, Brighton at home, Leicester away. So we beat Aston Villa on the opening day of the season, drew at Craven Cottage, lost late on at Brighton, and beat Leicester late on. So when you look at those games from the next 4, how many points do you want, ideally?
I think we want at least 7. I think 7 would be a very good return. I think, you know, when we're not going to go unbeaten, clearly we're going to lose a game. At least if we can get a couple of wins in there and sneak a draw somewhere, that would be great. I think, you know, 5 is the bare minimum. I think we have to get 5 points in these 4 games, really. And 7 would be, I'd be satisfied with them. Obviously, anything more would be brilliant. You know, I think that the important thing about these 3, or the interesting thing, is that those first 3 games are against teams that not on the beach, because obviously we're still quite a long way to, you know, a third of the season to go, or just under. But they're not going to go down. Yes, the likes of Brighton might be pushing for Europe, but you know, they're kind of not battling as hard as we might. And I think Fulham, you know, maybe looks like we've tailed off a bit. Villa certainly kind of sitting in no man's land, in no danger whatsoever. Leicester's really struggling. I mean, Leicester's toxic at the moment. I still look at Leicester and think, with the players they got, the likes of, if they can keep Maddison fit, they'll be fine, but they just don't seem to be getting the results. So it's a tough game to go away to Leicester, but the way they're playing at the moment, you know, with fancies. Look, as I said to you last week, if we can go away from the Emirates and be a second away from getting a point, and, you know, a few minutes away from getting all 3, we shouldn't fear going playing anyone, because the Emirates away at the moment is the hardest possible game you can get. So Villa's a tough game. I say Villa's a tough game, but again, it's not as tough as going to Arsenal. It's not as tough as going to Manchester United or anyone else. So, excuse me. They are beatable. But I think a draw at Villa would be great. And I would fancy us at home against Fulham and Brighton. Brighton are a great team, and Fulham have done exceptionally well this season. They're not struggling, by the way, but they're doing exceptionally well. But Brighton at home under the lights, at the rearranged game, I'd fancy us at home against anyone under the lights if we can play like we did. And obviously by then, fingers crossed, we'll have all of those players back who we've just mentioned who are missing. And Fulham at home, they're a good team, but we know we can beat them at home. They got what they got to play for. So yeah, 5 minimum, 7 satisfied. Anything more, great. Anything less, bit of a problem not following up, taking advantage of that great win on Saturday.
Before the 3 games against City, Arsenal and Liverpool, I was doing like a little predictor, which you can find on the internet, and you can try and predict results to try and get yourself. And I was trying to get to 35 points within that. I was looking at games at like Fulham, where I was thinking we can beat Fulham at home. And then I was looking on the road thinking we've got to take a win on the road somewhere. And I felt like it was either going to be like a Leicester or a Crystal Palace. And when I was looking at the games that I wanted to pick up points, it was like the games where we had sort of like not done well the first time round. So poor against Crystal Palace at home. So let's go and beat them away. Threw away a lead twice at Craven Cottage. So let's beat them at home this time. Leeds aren't in that graphic. They're coming in a moment. But again, what happened at Leeds? Let's put that right. But then my thinking then turns that Aston Villa will want to put right what happened on the opening day of the season. Leicester will want to put right being 1-0 up and losing 2-1 at Dean Court. So swings and roundabouts, really. But there's definitely 7 points in those 4 games, which would then leave us to get 4 minimum from the last 8. Very easy, this is. Absolutely easy.
Sounds easy, doesn't it, when you say it like that? Yeah.
I just don't need to overthink it. Don't complicate it. Don't waste your energy. Coffee, have an early night. Don't worry about what some of these teams can do, because we've got players like Jaden Anthony, Dango Utara, Dom Solanke, and Phil Billing in that graphic. The final 8 games, Aaron: Tottenham away, West Ham at home, Southampton away, Leeds at home, Chelsea at home, Palace away, Manchester United at home, Everton away. And like I was just saying a moment ago, there's 3 or 4 games in there where we performed terribly originally, and we need to put those wrongs right, just like we did the Liverpool game.
Yeah, look, I saw, I think there's some of them, it was Tom Crocker, I think, or Jack Tanner, one of the two, said that out of our last 9 games, 6 are against those teams in the mix. So, we've, as I said, we're the only team down there who have played Arsenal and Man City twice already. So that's good. That's a tick. West Ham's running is horrific, by the way. I saw one of the West Ham fan tweet about it. They got a very, very hard run in. Again, a team who I keep thinking won't be down there, won't possibly go down, but their running is horrific. So as far as run-ins go, ours is one of the kinder ones. We never get anything at Tottenham. At Tottenham, very rarely. Look, they're not great at the moment. Could we go there? Look, Arsenal are clearly better than them, so I wouldn't write us off, but we never get anything at Spurs. Those next 3 are are massive, aren't they? I mean, West Ham, April really. West Ham at home, Southampton away, Leeds at home. We've got to be looking at 6 points from West Ham and Leeds at home. Again, tough away games. We lost both of them. Let's not go over that again. But again, massive opportunities there. Southampton away, again, our record, obviously, bar 1 result, really isn't great at St Mary's. But again, why couldn't we go there and get a result? Chelsea at home, they have improved. But again, at home, I'd back us against anybody potentially. Palace away, as I said, haven't won since December against us. Don't hardly get any shots on target. Man United, obviously, as we know, can be great. And the thing about Everton away is last day of the season is that if we're fighting against Everton to stay up, I would want us to be at least 4 points ahead of them with our goal difference, because to go to Everton last day, if it's literally a shootout between the two of us, with Dyche and that Everton crowd, and Everton historically have saved themselves on final days at Goodison Park, I wouldn't fancy us, to be honest. So I'm hoping Everton are kind of safe by then, because and the other 3 teams are already relegated by then, one of the 2, because if it's us or Everton and we're not 4 points clear, I wouldn't fancy it. But look, those 8 games plus those 4 you mentioned before, when you look at it like that, and I know it hasn't worked out like that, because we lost to Southampton at home, we lost to Palace at home, We lost to West Ham, we lost to Leeds, but we only drew with Forest at home. A lot of these games, we haven't got points, which is a lot of our frustration, early frustration under Gary Neal's tenure. But we're a different team now. We've got some new personnel, and looking at that, we can definitely get the required points to get us to 35, 36 points.
Well, those last 4 we need to get. We can get 3 at home to Chelsea, because
of course, always
that's
do that.
normally nailed on. Well, it's been good to go through this, Aaron, and really focus on these last 12 games that are coming up. They're going to ask a different tactic from us, but we've got to keep it simple. We've got to play to our strengths. And I think we know what our identity and philosophy needs to be for these last 12 games. And we have a real good chance of surviving.
Yeah, we really do. I think it's given us everybody belief. The fact that other teams is right down there with us, not getting results, not being consistent, helps as well. Villa's a tough game. If we can get something from that, it'd be brilliant. But then we've got a 2-week break. Hopefully get all those players back fit and really hit those last 11 games running. And, I really do believe, a lot of people have written us off, but I do believe we have the ability, we can stay up. And I'm cautiously optimistic now.
Thank you, Aaron. It's been good to catch up. We'll get more of these debates going between now and the end of the season. We'll try and get some fan debates going with opposition teams, especially those teams in and around us. And as we get closer to those last batch of games, last few games, we'll see if we can predict what might happen. But Aaron, thank you very much.
Pleasure as always. And I hope to see everybody at the next game very soon.
Thank you to you, the fans, for checking out this video. Please do subscribe, hit the like button and get those thoughts in the comments below. If this was interactive, thank you for getting involved. But until the next time, from me and Aaron, we'll see you on the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.